Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and today is September the 7th. I'm going to do your Just for Today in a meditation. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our H.O.O.D recovery services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Hope you're doing good this morning. I have a surprise for you when you wake up. This will be ready for you. So that makes me feel good. Okay, so today we're talking about resentment and forgiveness. Where there has been wrong, the program teaches us the spirit of forgiveness. Basic text, page 12. In NA, we begin to interact with the world around us. We no longer live in isolation, but freedom from isolation has its price. The more we interact with people, the more often we'll find someone stepping on our toes. And such are the circumstances in which resentments are often born. Resentments, justified or not, are dangerous to our ongoing recovery. The longer we harbor resentments, the more bitter they become, eventually poisoning us. To stay clean, we must find the capacity to let go of our resentments, the capacity to forgive. We first develop this capacity in working steps 8 and 9, and we keep it alive by regularly taking the 10th step. Sometimes, when we are unwilling to forgive, it helps to remember that we, too, may someday require another person's forgiveness. Haven't we all, at one time or another, done something that we deeply regretted? And aren't we healed in some measure when others accept our sincere amends? An attitude of forgiveness is a little easier to develop when we remember that we are all doing the very best we can. And someday we too will need forgiveness. Just for today, I will let go of my resentments. Today, if I am wronged, I will practice forgiveness, knowing that I need forgiveness myself. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the wee version of the Serenity Prayer, please. Moment of silence now. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Deep topic, right? Resentment and forgiveness. Where are you at with resentments? Because if you look at your resentments, you're also going to be looking at the areas where you need to forgive. We have a lot of things that happen to us in our lives. A lot of wrong has happened to many of us. Some of it in our active addiction, we played a very large part in. But there's some things that we were just victim to. We're survivors of certain types of abuses. And then we find along the way, coming out of isolation, that we're actually encountering people on normal terms. And what I mean by that is that now we're encountering people and we're starting to have interactions with people. And the more that we interact with people, there's more opportunities for offense. And these are things that we need to take into consideration. Is that coming out of isolation, it has a price. The freedom of not having to use alone and alienate our families and isolate from people when we're high so they don't see us. The freedom that we get as a direct result of recovery has a price. And unfortunately, I can say from my own experience that that price means that now I'm interacting with people as they are, and they're interacting with me as I am. And so what happens is that sometimes the two clash. My core values and your core values, they clash, or it may not even be about the core values. It just could be this mindless behavior, um, people that, gossip, run their mouth. These are things that rub me the wrong way. And sometimes what happens is that resentments can develop. And when those resentments develop, we have to make a choice. We have to make a choice, and it's better to make it right then and there. Like for me, when I'm offended, I have to put a time frame on how long I'm going to allow that. And a lot of times the time is just really to allow me to sort it out and figure out, is this a real issue? Or is this something I'm just tired and angry today or grouchy today? But is this a real issue? Like, did they really intentionally do something to offend me? Most of the time, people don't go around intentionally trying to offend people. They just have this mindless behavior based on who they are. And that behavior, they really don't think about it. It's kind of like they do it automatically. And no one has ever told them, that is so rude. Do you realize what you're doing when you do that? No one ever has even pulled them aside probably and said, you know what? That's a no-go. That doesn't nurture community or relationship. You need to let that go. That's a character defect, actually, that you use as a survival instinct, and it doesn't serve your purpose anymore, other than to make people not want to deal with you. Yeah, who goes around and tells people stuff like that? So I try to analyze in that moment whether or not this is real. And most of the time it's not. And even if it is, and I am offended, I try to put a time frame on how long I'm going to sort that through. Because here's the thing. We hear this a lot. Don't allow people to live rent free in your head. And I agree with that. I don't think people understand that when you have a resentment, it's like you're obsessing and compulsing over it all day, all night, um, playing back conversations in your head about what you could have said differently, what you should have said differently. It really serves very little purpose to harbor a resentment. And when we talk about harboring resentments, I just want you to think of a boat dock that you might have seen at the lake. Wherever you live, I'm sure there's probably water, and you've seen boats either docking, um, that they rent their space to dock their boats, or you've seen a boat at a dock, I'm sure. And if you haven't, there's pictures of them you can go research. But these boats come in and they dock, and they usually dock for overnight or all summer long, all season long. They have a set time frame that they actually dock for. And so you have to think about the dock actually being your heart. The dock is your heart. And the boats that are coming in and docking at your heart are your interactions with people. And in this story, it's the resentments. But you're the dock. Your heart is the dock, and you control how long anything can sit there. You control how long you allow these boats of resentment to sit at your dock. And the longer they sit at your dock, the more they settle in and the more they become a permanent figure of your heart condition. And you don't want this bitterness to take root. Because when this bitterness, this resentment sits at the dock of your heart and it begins to take root, it begins to make your heart sick. It begins to make your heart weak. It makes your heart sick. It clouds the thinking. It clouds the thinking of your condition, the way that you think about things. And then now all of a sudden, everything that you say and you do is coming out of this bitter root of resentment. So the way that you handle resentment, based on the information we have within the 12 steps of this program, the way that you handle it is to foster or nurture a spirit of forgiveness. So in your step 8 and your step 9, you are able to daily now through step 10, monitor the doc, monitor your heart condition, right? And analyze what has happened in the course of the day that you need to go back and readjust. It may just be the resentment that you need to handle. Maybe you need to talk to the person that you call yourself offended by and say, was that directed to me? The kids and I, we have a saying around the house. And when someone is talking with some sarcasm, trying to make a point without really making the point, we'll say, that sounds so directed. Like, what are you trying to say? And it's cute because it helps us to better communicate rather than practicing speaking with shade, right? And so if I say something to one of them, they'll be like, that is so directed. And it's meant to be directed because I'm probably giving them an instruction and making it sound like a suggestion, right? So sometimes we need to go back to people and ask them, man, that sounded like you really had a problem with me. Is there a problem? And just ask them. It makes your life a lot more free. You know, freedom isn't free, and living free from isolation has its own price. But we're growing up, right? We're maturing in recovery, and we're able to do that. So remember that it's important for you to let go of your resentments. Don't let them take dock or harbor, right? Don't let them harbor at the dock of your heart. And that if you're wrong today, make it a practice to forgive right away. If you can't forgive right away, put a time frame on it. Try to get some clarity on the situation and then let it go. And here's the reciprocal part of it, right? The law of reciprocity is that generally speaking, everything has a reaction. Every energy you put out has another energy that is attracted to that. So if you're forgiving, forgiveness flows more freely towards you. And undoubtedly, being a human being, we're going to need that forgiveness at some point in time in our lives. And so you want that law of reciprocity to work very well, but you do it by allowing yourself to develop the spirit forgiveness in all your situations and practicing these spiritual principles in all your affairs. Very important. I enjoy talking to you, and I will be talking to you tomorrow.